episodes are really more of guidelines than actual rules.
Here's something gross. Fun fact.
We're breaking all the rules.
Jesse rules.
I rule.
I'm Jessie Rules, and this is my show, Jessie's Rules. I have been MIA for quite some time. I've done maybe one episode within the last year. Because Happy New Year, it's 2026, and I have had anything but a happy last year. And I'm kind of here to give some updates, but also to share some difficult things. So trigger warning, there are sad things ahead. I might cry on the internet, and I am not ashamed of that. There's medical discussions. I am not a doctor. I can only just tell anybody what we went through in case you happen to go through it. And I hope that nobody ever fucking does, because that was traumatic and miserable, and I don't wish that upon anybody. I'm just going to dive right into it. My kid's dad, my ex-husband, passed away Thanksgiving Day last year, 2025. He had a very quick and traumatic battle with ALK positive mast cell lymphoma. So he had cancer. Everyone just kept saying this is a very rare type of cancer, but that type of cancer specifically does respond well to treatment. He went in for blood clots. He was 39 years old. Insurance gave him a hard time about imaging, and he was waiting for an MRI. And so treatment was delayed. He was told that what was happening to his body was normal for somebody experiencing blood clots. And I just would like to share the things that are not normal. You know, these were signs of cancer, and what David went through, I don't believe people should have to go through. And I just want to share. It would help me. If it helps one person, it would help me to share it. So I have a timeline. It started in July. He was being treated for blood clots. His left leg started swelling to the point where he could not wear regular shorts or pants. He went back to the doctor. They assured him it was normal because blood clots cause swelling. However, once you begin blood thinners, that should start to go away. If it does not go away, it is not normal. Go to the emergency room. So July, he took my kids camping or glamping in Mammoth, where they would do a yearly dirt bike ride. And he already was having trouble walking. His leg was swollen, and Mammoth is a high elevation. So when he got up there on blood thinners, he started to have a really hard time. So that's kind of when my care for him began. I was like coaching him through it, calling him, texting him, like, you need to quit eating meat, do not drink beer, do not take sleeping pills, absolutely no Benadryl, nothing that will make you sluggish. And he had already done all of those things. He had eaten steak and burgers and taken Benadryl and tried taking sleeping pills. And I was like, you need to go get the portable oxygen tanks. Go get those. It will help you because you're already on blood thinners and you have a blood clot and your body is not getting what it needs. So we got those, and it kind of got him through the trip, and they made it back home. That's when my kids were like, okay, something is wrong, because, you know, it was a change, a sudden change. They came back, and progressively over time, David got worse. Previous medical things that were red flags with a blood clot, he had had prostate issues, he had had hernia issues, he had had ulcer issues, several issues, all in the same area of the body, all sent to different doctors, all told he was probably fine. Take some pills for a little bit, you'll be okay. So now he has blood clots. It's getting progressively worse. He cannot walk unassisted. He's using canes. He can't lift his leg. August 23rd, I took a photo of him. He was sitting on the couch across from me, couldn't catch his breath, and his leg was swollen to the point where it was shifting out of the socket. I took a photo of him from my perspective, and I texted it to him across the room. He saw the photo, and it was like the first time it clicked in his head, this is an emergency. So the next day, he had chest pain. He went to the ER and was admitted to the hospital August 24th. The timeline, I mean, it's not super important, but like I will give dates just to show how fast everything went, because the blood clots, I was begging him, go to the emergency room, go to the ER. They'll do the imaging at the ER, go to the ER. Like, they're not going to wait for insurance at ER. They'll just do it. If you go through your regular doctor right now, like, they're not doing it. He went to the ER, right away admitted. And they did a scan and they found a 19 by 10 centimeter mass. And that's very large. And then it was, we need a biopsy. And so they did 2 biopsies, one directly in the mass and one on his lymph nodes. He was in the hospital, about a week. They did the biopsies and they sent him home. He came home, he was here for a week, and he was immobile. He could no longer lift his own leg, and so to get on the bed or the couch, I would have to lift his leg onto wherever he was trying to be and set it down and adjust the pillows and move his body and set him up so that he was okay. The biopsy site got infected and he started to get skin rashes. The skin rashes are important specifically with this type of cancer. He had always had these spots on his body that would pop up and they would be treated with a steroid cream, but they never fully would go away. And no doctor ever got to the bottom of what they were or why he had them. Those ended up being a sign of this particular type of cancer. It manifests as a skin condition. He was here at the house. Me and the kids were taking care of him. It was just us. He got a phone call from the doctor on that Friday. It was September 5th, which is a significant day to me. It was a bad day. It was the 10-year anniversary of my older sister's suicide. David got the phone call from his doctor confirming that it was cancer and that it was, in fact, a huge tumor. They were setting up a chemo schedule immediately, and it was a life-altering phone call. He got the call, and our youngest, Lottie, walked in the room, and she just kind of saw the mood and instantly knew. So we brought our kids in and told them. I asked him to make sure he told his dad right away, and he did. It wasn't something that needed to be kept a secret. It was a terminal diagnosis. It was we can start chemo and see. The skin rashes started, and he also had the biopsy wound. I was not equipped for what was about to happen with his body, and neither was he. Because of the blood clots, his body could no longer, because of the tumor blocking blood vessels, his kidney, and his liver, his body could no longer process toxins. And so his lower half began to swell, and it could no longer pull the blood up to the top of his body. ALK positive mast cell lymphoma. It started to deteriorate the skin on the lower half of his body. He started weeping through his skin. He could no longer process things through his kidneys. He could no longer use the restroom the same. And so his body started pushing out what it could through his skin, and in the process losing layers of skin with it. It was inflamed. It was peeling off. I was doing my very best to keep it dry, clean, medicated. I was not prepared for that. It started to get infected. Like, I don't know how it was water. It was water and sweat and just liquid coming out of his skin. What his body couldn't process into urine was coming out through his skin. It wasn't pee, but it should have been. I put my kids to bed and I took him back to the hospital. We checked him in. We said he has just got a cancer diagnosis. This is what's going on, and so much and so forth. He was immobile at this point. He could no longer walk unassisted. We had crutches for him to move around. He was able to drag his leg. It was completely swollen and shifted. Some of the things that I'm going to share, they're very real, and none of it is to disrespect his dignity or his privacy. He wanted to make sure that people knew. And so we have permission to use it to educate people. And I don't know, it's something that I feel once you say it to a man, their entire understanding of it changes. His lower half started swelling, so both legs started swelling and his scrotum. Like his entire balls were just swelling as big as my head. What the fuck? I'm not a nurse. Neither one of us were prepared for anything like that. It was probably the most pain you could imagine for a man. I don't know. Both his legs were swollen to the point of, the threat of elephantitis, where that swelling may or may not have gone away. His left leg was worse. His right leg was bad. And they both were shifted out. And then his, entire genitals were so swollen that like his legs could not close. He could not sit in a regular wheelchair or a chair. And like I share that because if that starts to happen, it's not normal, it's not okay. Go get treated immediately. And like I know that people would say, of course that's not okay, and we know that, but like they were telling him it was normal and okay. And they sent him home to be in my care like that. And it's not okay. And so he got admitted to the hospital again, and his kidneys were shutting down. He had sepsis from the infection where the biopsy was. That had to be drained. His white blood cell count was astronomical, and he was teetering death. So September 5th, he got diagnosed. September 15th, he got admitted to the hospital. By September 17th, he got a PICC line to start chemo, and then he was too sick to start chemo. So that's when he had to have the infections drained from his body, things get cleaned out, and his kidneys were shutting down. The weeping in his legs was getting to the point where his skin was not healing enough, and his entire body was starting to shut down. They did emergency dialysis. Now, at this point, I'm at the hospital with him every day. I was his caretaker every day. I also have my 3 kids. I'm trying to adjust to my house because he could not go up the stairs. We don't have a downstairs shower. It's winter. My kids are sick. Lottie had fallen and messed up her knee. So Lottie was on crutches, and we were told she had a torn meniscus. It ended up being a broken kneecap. So she almost had to have surgery, and meanwhile, David's in and out of the hospital. It's the end of September. We had waited this whole time for chemo. He'd been admitted for a week. He was too sick to do it. I took my kids to the hospital as possibly saying goodbye to their dad. There were 3 days before that. They put him in the best room in the hospital, and they medicated him to comfort, and they did not much else. They offered him a chaplain. And he kind of snapped out of it and was like, absolutely not. No, I'm not ready to go. And so I demanded that they remove the muscle relaxers from his medication and change his pain pills. It hurt more, but he snapped out of it, and he got dialysis, and he was good enough for chemo. It helped. And then he got dialysis one more time, and it helped. They gave him the port. He had been waiting the whole time for the chemo port and the dialysis port. He got the PICC line so they could do it anyways. He had tubes everywhere, needles everywhere. He was hooked up to so many bags, and he was miserable. And they did chemo as we'll see. Fuck. Sorry. And it helped. It fucking helped. The dialysis helped. They gave us antifungal cream, which he should have been using the whole time. His skin started to do better. And he was discharged, and he got to go home. And that was a miracle. To go from being offered a chaplain to going home with your kids is a miracle. My home was still not equipped for that. At one point, I had to take him back to the hospital. He ended up with a catheter. He was trying to go to the restroom. He fell. I could not lift him. And so in the beginning of October, from back and forth from the hospital and the pain from falling, he went to stay at his dad's house. From the beginning of October until the end of November, I wasn't in charge of his care. I was just updated through him. And the further into chemo he got, the less capable of sharing he was. He was confused a lot. The Monday before Thanksgiving, I was informed he went back to the hospital. He was unresponsive. They called 911. I had a feeling. I'd ask kids, have you guys heard from your dad? Has anyone heard from dad? I haven't heard from dad. The last message I got from him was jumbled and it didn't make sense. Words were repeating, and they all had said the same. No one had heard from him, and he was in a coma the last week of his life. What had happened was the tumor broke open. It was responding well to chemo, The tumor was shrinking. The swelling in his legs was going down. He was able to walk. The last visit my kids had with their dad, I took them over to his dad's house where he was staying. He sat and ate dinner with us at the table. He went outside and they looked at his dirt bike. It was being rebuilt, and they got to talk dirt bikes and be outside in the sunshine. He walked around. He did Legos. We talked. We hung out. And then when he was tired, we gave love, and then we left. And it was the best fucking visit they had had with him in months. It was the best he had looked and felt in months. He was skinny. He looked like he was on chemo. He was struggling. You could see the tumor bulging out, but he looked good. And then the tumor broke apart. It shrank so much and was attached to so many places. Apparently, from what I understand, it broke open and flooded his system with calcium. That is, it ended up taking his life. And I took my kids to say their final goodbyes on Thanksgiving Day. We had our private moment with him. And at one point, my youngest went and set down her jacket. As she was walking back, she paused and looked out the window into the hallway. She went. She walked back over to me, and we watched her do it. And she said, I saw Dad over there, and he looked good, and he waved and smiled. And I was like, that's really sweet, honey. I believe you. We said our final goodbyes. And the room was full of his family and some friends. And my kids said they were ready to go. So we left. We went down the hall, down the elevator, and out the front walkway. And as we crossed the walkway, before we even made it to the parking structure, I got the message that he had passed away. I know without a doubt. He left that hospital with his kids. And he came home with us that night. The speed at which it took him and the way that it took him was not fair. The pain that came with it was not fair. And I'm very grateful for that last visit that the kids had with him. And I'm really sad that that's all they got. But I'm grateful for all of the weird shit that he and I did. Like the way that we had our schedule set up and how we still shared our home and everything. It needed to be that way because he got the most time with his kids that he could have possibly had, and they got to have their dad as much as they possibly could have had, and I'm grateful for that. Divorce or not, kids came first, and I'm grateful for every minute of it, even the hard shit. I'm proud of how hard he fought. There are signs. Multiple issues at a young age are not normal, and your doctor telling you that they are, it's not. Fight for that. Because healthcare brushes this shit off and they let people we love die when they don't have to. And I don't want anyone else to go through that. In David's name, if that story can help anybody at all, go to the hospital. The ER cares more than your doctor's office. I've regrouped. So David passed away on Thanksgiving Day. We said goodbye. He left with me and the kids. There's no doubt in my mind that his soul came home with them. Those were his people, and dealing with this kind of loss, because we were divorced, I'm not losing a husband, I'm not losing a spouse, I'm losing an ex-husband, but I'm also losing a co-parent and a best friend, and David and I had our own language. We spoke in movie quotes and song lyrics, and now when I say these things out loud, there is not a soul in the world who knows what I'm talking about. I wrote down all the movies he and I used to watch and the shows so that my kids could watch them, so that when they hear me say these things, eventually they'll hear it like, oh, that's where you and Dad got that from. Grief is love with no place to go, and so we're just giving it places to go. I use this mug a lot. This mug it's from the podcast Feeling Good with Daddy that I used to do the fan Facebook page for, and it means dick. It's a pork snorkel. And whenever I was mad at David, I would always choose this cup for him. But I would make really fancy, elaborate coffee and with caramel and fresh whipped cream and all the shit. So I was never mad enough to not make the coffee. But I would make him the coffee in the cup that meant he was being a dick. And so now this is the cup I use the most because it reminds me of him. Which is funny. And then the irony of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a holiday he and I used to fight about a lot. Because I grew up in a broken home with divorced parents. He grew up with divorced parents. And there were grandparents and all of these different houses. And there was one year where I ate 5 Thanksgiving dinners. And I cried. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. When do we get to be adults and have our own Thanksgiving? And he always wanted to go where all the people were. And so the fact that he passed on Thanksgiving, it's just saying our final goodbyes. I just was like, it's so weird that you would, Thanksgiving of all days, David. And the kids swore they saw him smile. And I like the idea that he would have, I think I started to say this and I stopped. I get all choked up when I talk about it. It's hard. I miss having somebody to love my kids as much as I do. But I miss knowing without a doubt that there is someone out there that loves my kids as much as I do. And there's nobody else in the world whose job that is now. So I have to love them extra. And grief is love with no place to go. And, I'm no stranger to grief. I did lose my sister. My kids have been to a lot of funerals as far as kids go. I know where to put it and how to channel it. It's just a weird type of grief where I'm losing a friend, I'm losing an ex-husband, I'm losing a co-parent. He was the only consistent person in my life for 21 years. Just half my life he was there, and everyone has to go at some point. We just weren't ready for that. And the way that he went was heavy and traumatic and hard. We've done our first Christmas, and a lot of people reached out to help. And I appreciate all of that. That was one thing where I was like, this is what my kids want for Christmas. If anyone wants to help me get them their Christmas wish list. And people did, and that was amazing. I don't know if I'll be able to thank each person individually. Holy shit, it got me through a really hard month. And we still did all the holiday shit. We went above and beyond. I did every single decoration. And we did our first New Year's, and it was my birthday, and David's birthday is this week, and we're going to go out to dinner, and we're going to just continue to celebrate his life and talk about him all the time. And then adjust to this new normal. And part of the new normal is accepting every job that comes my way, except I can't travel the same way. I had just gotten a job before David got sick where I was a traveling paint instructor. It's very cool. It's an amazing gig. It's a great job opportunity. I don't know if I will be able to do those anymore. Without David here, I have to work double, triple, quadruple, extra. I have to maintain my health. I can't go do anything crazy extra weird. I can't eat anything crazy extra weird. My daughter ate peanut butter and then shared her water with me, and I woke up puking the next day. And so I even have to be extra careful even in my house. But the work is where I've been focusing. I can't go out. I'm not used to being home on weekends, honestly, because that's when I would go and travel and do my jobs and events and get more jobs because my face is my networking. And so if I don't show up places, I'm not getting the same amount of jobs. So when I get new kinds of jobs, I have to say yes. So I do. And this is one of them. Look at my nuts. These are the pepper skullco nuts, I believe is what they're called. And someone said, can you make a disco ball? And I said, fucking probably. And they said, could you make it look like this? And I said, sure. And guess what? I fucking did. And I'm very proud of it. And they're very cool, and I hope that the person who is getting these absolutely loves them, because how cool. The person who ordered them, I was sending updates the whole time, this is what's happening now, because I wasn't sure if I knew how to make a disco ball. And then I did it. It's very cool, and so I'm at the point in my life where if you ask me, can you do that? I'm just going to say sure and try and do it, because I can do anything. I just have a different timeline than some people. And I'm doing a lot of artwork, blazing frames. I travel with them, and I draw for them, and I do custom frames and pin boards for them. And I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. I'm still working on my Safety Next series. That kind of took a back burner when David was in the hospital. Okay, one thing I am going to bring up, and there's no names, and I've never shared the artwork. I worked on a piece, a custom anniversary gift for somebody. It included pictures from all of their history and life together. And I made a collage of pictures of them throughout their lives and all the places they had been. Oh man, it was so cool and elaborate, and I worked very hard on it. And so I was, David was in the hospital, and I was like just there all day long with him working on this piece, and I missed my deadline. And I was like, I am so sorry I missed the deadline of your anniversary, but I'm dealing with cancer and with my ex-husband right now. And so he was very kind and gracious and was like, don't even worry about it, etc., okay? I was very proud of this piece. I sent it, and then I didn't hear back anything at all. And I was like, oh, when you get invested, you like root for it to be like the best gift ever, and you want to hear something good. And then I heard back from the person who received it as a gift that I was accused of, I'm not quite sure, because I was like, oh, I don't think you meant to say this to me. Like, I'm sorry you have something going on. And then they were like, no, I didn't mean to say it to you. And I was like, I had to reread it and apply it to myself, because I was like, well, that's not true. This was paid for and agreed upon, and all chats had to do with how much that you are loved. I've reached a point where personal projects have to come with like disclaimers, because this isn't the first time that that's happened, where when they find out that a woman created the artwork, it suddenly changes the value of the piece created. So it's like a balance of to be seen or not to be seen as an artist. And then I look like this on the internet, and then someone's in trouble because I have my arms out. And it's annoying. Like, the things that I worked on were discredited because I'm a woman. The love and the effort that I put towards David were discredited because I'm an ex-wife. And I just feel like there are things that become fights, and I don't have a fight in me. And I'm just like, oh, well, I wish you well. Because that's not for me, and I have like a lot of levels to go up now. And a lot of love to give, because that's the whole point of life, is just love. It's the whole fucking point. Give love. It's nice to not have any regrets, because I know that their dad knew that we loved him and that we were going to do our best for him, and it's a good feeling. And chemo, dang, it really robs you of who you are for a minute, and it was all a lot of gross, traumatic things. If anybody goes through that and you have questions, feel free to reach out. I'll try to answer what I can. It was fast. My advice is, if something feels wrong, it doesn't matter if you have to spend money or have medical debt. Get right. Write a will in your own handwriting. Sign that shit. Put it somewhere safe. Tell somebody. Tell more than one person. It's a new chapter of new shit and new projects. I am taking all kinds of new jobs. I'm going to do paint nights locally in Southern California. Locally means like within an hour or two of me. I can come to you. I think it's about $35 a person, but it depends on like what you want to paint and how far you want to go. And Maureen wants to sell shirts with my face on it. So I figure I better put my face more places. Because lately it's just been a sad face, and I've been crying a lot. But it checks out, and it's for a good reason, Thank you to everybody who gave us food. The DoorDash coupons, or whatever they're called, DoorDash money for my kids when David was in the hospital and I wasn't home to feed them. That was one of the most helpful things in the whole wide world. They could just like order whatever they wanted, and they felt fancy about it, and that was cool. It was a lifesaver. I don't know what else. I'm just working. I'm working. I'm going to have disco balls and lamps and crochet things, and hire me for jobs, because that's what I need to do, is make all the money, because I am a single mom. No backup. It's all me. And so if you're like, oh, is there anyone who can do this? Yep. I will do that. Not that, though. Alright. I'm going to leave now. I'm going to go do more happy things. Our happy things jar was lacking last year, and so I encourage everyone to do more happy things. Write it down on a piece of paper, put it in a jar. Anything that makes you smile, anything that makes you laugh, anything that you would like to acknowledge on New Year's next year, and you open the jar and you read it, all your happiest memories throughout the year. And I would like more in that jar, but I also have to get better at writing them and putting them in the jar. And I'm really proud of my kids for how they've handled everything. And, you know, life just changes on you and you have to roll with it. And so we are. And we love you, David. We miss you, David. And we're going to go camping to celebrate his life. And we look forward to that. Thank you for everyone for the support now and before and in the future. I will be doing a lot of epic shit. I just haven't figured out how yet. But life's too short. I'm 39. I just turned 39, and so this is my last year in my 30s. I'm going to get weird about it. I'm going to be weird and sexy about it, and there's disco balls everywhere. And, you know, and shit changes really fast, so enjoy, like, right now, because that's what you got. That's what you got. And that's all I got. Okay, I love you, bye.